Hey guys, so on February 5th, 2020, President Donald J. Trump was acquitted by the Senate of all of the impeachment charges against him. This will be an update to the video I made called Donald J. Trump, President Donald J. Trump is impeached. I told you guys I would update you, so I waited until the verdict on Wednesday, and here's the update. So I'm going to show you guys the verdict on the first charge, second charge, and then what John Roberts said, President Trump's statement, and I will explain what the charges were, how we got here, and how is it going to look like going forward. So first, I'm going to let you guys watch John Roberts talk about the first article. I will skim through the video to see him talking about the second article, and then the ultimate verdict. So yeah.
Impeachment, 48 senators have pronounced Donald John Trump, President of the United States, guilty as charged. 52 senators have pronounced him not guilty as charged. Two-thirds of the senators present not having pronounced him guilty, the Senate adjudges that the respondent, Donald John Trump, President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the first article of impeachment.
So that's the first article. I'll pause it. So as you can see, 48 said guilty, 52 not guilty.
The clerk will read the second article.
And then I'm going to skim through until Roberts talks about Article 2. I don't know where it is, so I'm going to have to find it here. Probably like near the end here.
Guilty as charged. 53 senators have pronounced him not guilty as charged.
I'm going to go back a bit here.
53.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find. Here.
In this article of impeachment, 47 senators have pronounced Donald John Trump, President of the United States, guilty as charged. 53 senators have pronounced him not guilty as charged. Two-thirds of the senators present not having pronounced him guilty, the Senate adjudges that respondent, Donald John Trump, President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the second article of impeachment. The presiding officer directs judgment to be entered in accordance with the judgment of the Senate as follows. The Senate, having tried Donald John Trump, President of the United States, upon two articles of impeachment exhibited against him by the House of Representatives, and two-thirds of the senators present not having found him guilty of the charges contained therein, it is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby, acquitted of the charges in said articles.
Mr. Chief Justice,
The majority leader is recognized.
I send an order to the desk.
Clerk will report.
So I'm sorry that you watched it. I apologize for rewinding it, but I'm trying to find where it is. So that's the acquittal. And then here's his statement. I'm not gonna have you guys watch the whole thing. I'm just gonna watch a little bit.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Well, we've all been through a lot together, and we probably deserve that hand for all of us, because it's been a very unfair situation. I invited some of our very good friends, and we have limited room, but everybody wanted to come. We kept it down to a minimum, and believe it or not, this is a minimum. But a tremendous thing was done over the last number of months, but really if you go back to it over the last number of years, we had the witch hunt. It started from the day We came down the elevator, myself and our future First Lady.
I think maybe I'm gonna skim through until he like shows the newspaper right here. And then it's gonna go through.
So you can take that home, honey. Maybe we'll frame it. It's the only good headline I've ever had in the Washington Post. I'll tell you. But every paper is the same. Does anybody have those papers? Does anybody have them? Because they're really like that, so I appreciate that. But some of the people here have been incredible warriors. They're warriors. And there's nothing,
I'm gonna back it up just before he shows the newspaper.
it's not anything. It's just we're sort of, it's a celebration because we have something that just worked out. I mean, it worked out. We went through hell unfairly, did nothing wrong, did nothing wrong. I've done things wrong in my life, I will admit. Not purposely, but I've done things wrong. But this is what the end result is.
Okay, sorry, I keep skimming, but I have to find the sweet spot.
I want to start by introducing some of the people that from a legal standpoint, this is a political thing. And every time I'd say, this is unfair, let's go to court, they say, sir, you can't go to court, this is politics. And we were treated unbelievably unfairly. And you have to understand, we first went through Russia. It was all bullshit. We then went through the Mueller report. And they should have come back one day later. They didn't. They came back 2 years later, after lives were ruined, after people went bankrupt, after people lost all their money. People came to Washington to help other people. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I say. They came, 1 or 2 or 3 people in particular, but many people. We had a rough campaign. It was nasty. It was one of the nastiest, they say. They say Andrew Jackson was always the nastiest campaign. They actually said we topped it. It was a nasty both in the primaries and in the election. But you see, we thought after the election it would stop, but it didn't stop. It just started. And tremendous corruption. So we had a campaign. Little did we know we were running against some very, very bad and evil people with fake dossiers, with all of these horrible, dirty cops that took these dossiers and did bad things. They knew all about it. The FISA courts should be ashamed of themselves. It's a very tough thing. And then we ended up winning on Russia. Should have taken the one day, as I said, and it took years. Then Bob Mueller testified. That didn't work out so well for the other side. But they should have said that first week, because it came out. Is that right, Jim Jordan? They knew in the first 2 days, actually. Devin, is that right? 2 days, they knew that we were totally innocent. But they kept it going, Mark. They kept it going forever. Because they wanted to inflict political pain on somebody that had just won an election that to a lot of people was surprised. I mean, we had polls that said we were going to win. We had Los Angeles Times and a few papers actually said we were going to win, but it was going to be close. And we did win. It was one of the greatest wins of all time. And they said, okay, he won. And I wrote this down because that was where a thing called the insurance policy, to me, when I saw the insurance policy, and that was done long before the election. That was done when they thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And by the way, Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid for millions millions of dollars, the fake dossier. And now Christopher Steele admits that it's a fake because he got sued by rich people. I should have sued him too, but when you're president, people don't like suing. I want to thank my legal team, by the way, not for that advice, but for other advice. Pat, Jay, Pat, you guys stand up, please. Great job. Right at the beginning, they said, sir, you have nothing to worry about. All of the facts are on your side. I said, you don't understand. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And that was really true. They made up facts. A corrupt politician named Adam Schiff made up my statement to the Ukrainian president. He brought it out of thin air. Just made it up. They say he's a screenwriter, a failed screenwriter. He tried to go into, unfortunately, he went into politics after that. Remember, he said the statement, which is a mob statement, don't call me, I'll call you. I didn't say that. Fortunately, for all of us here today and for our country, we had transcripts. We had transcribers, professional transcribers. Then they said, oh, well, maybe the transcription is not correct. But Lieutenant Colonel Vindman and his twin brother, right? We had some people that really amazing. But we did everything. We said, what's wrong with it? Well, they didn't add this word or that. It didn't matter. I said, add it. They're probably wrong, but add it. So now everyone agrees that they were perfectly accurate. When you read those transcripts, Tim Scott, I don't know if Tim's here, but he said, sir, he's the first one to call me. Sir, I read the transcript. You did nothing wrong. And Mitch, he stayed there right from the beginning. He never changed. And Mitch McConnell, I want to tell you, you did a fantastic job. Somebody said, you know, Mitch is quiet. And I said, he's not quiet. He's not quiet. He doesn't want people to know him. And they said, is Mitch smart? I said, well, let's put it this way. For many, many years, a lot of very smart, bad in many cases, sometimes good.
I will link the video in the description if you want to watch the full thing. I'm not gonna, not gonna play the whole thing. You guys can watch it. I'll link this video. It's called Trump Addresses the Nation on Senate Impeachment Acquittal from Fox News. So let's get down to it. Basically, a whistleblower complaint in September, or was it September, had essentially triggered the impeachment. So what happened was Pelosi announced an official impeachment inquiry because President Trump asked Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to do us a favor. And they thought that was a quid pro quo, and then President Trump withheld military funds for a good reason, but the Democrats thought that he withheld the funds to pressure Ukraine. And then President Trump, as you know, was impeached on December 18th, 2019, and then McConnell had worked with his team to get President Trump acquitted. And I'm just gonna head over to my browser so I can read to you guys the week. And if you guys want to know what I was doing, I found a piece of leather on my bed, and I just bought these new leather gloves from Amazon. So I was just trying to figure out if the leather came from the gloves. I don't see any injury on the gloves, so I have no clue. because the gloves look like they're fine. It looks as if the leather that was torn was probably torn off from one of the tags. But regardless, I'm gonna bring up the Wikipedia on the impeachment trial and read you guys some of it. But this was a coup by the Democrats. They tried to, for the first time, they tried to unseat a sitting U.S. president just because they don't like him. First time that they tried to get rid of the president because they don't like him. That this is not based on actual accusation, more so than it's just based on political bias and wanting him out. They wanted to undo the 2016 election. As you can see, the trial went from January 16th till February 5th. 2 weeks and 6 days. The outcome, like I said, acquitted by U.S. Senate, remains in office. Charges: abuse of power, obstruction of Congress. Cause: allegations that Trump sought help from Ukrainian authorities to favor him in the 2020 U.S. presidential election. I caught myself there. So I'm going to read to you guys the Republican plans and then the verdict. As the articles of impeachment moved to a vote before the full House and referral to the Senate for trial, Mitch McConnell met with White House counsel Pat Cipollone, Congressional Nelson Eric Ueland, later stating, "Everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with the White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as how to handle this. I'm going to take my cues from the president's lawyers. As part of the total coordination, McConnell also said the president's lawyers could decide if witnesses would be called for the trial. McConnell also said there was no chance the Senate would convict Trump and remove him from office, while declaring his wish that all Senate Republicans would acquit Trump of both charges on December 14th. Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham said, "I am trying to give a pretty clear signal. I had made up my mind. I'm not trying to be a fair juder here. I will do everything I can to make the impeachment trial die quickly." 3 days later, McConnell said, "I'm not an impartial juder. This is a political process. There is nothing judicial about it. Impeachment is a political decision. The Constitution mandates senators to take an impeachment oath in which by Senate rules stated, I will do impartial justice according to the Constitution and laws, so help me God." That's the Republican plan. I don't know if I should read all of this. Maybe. Okay, here. I'll read a little bit of this part. This is for him. After the Senate reconvened from its holiday break, Lindsey Graham proposed that he and McConnell change the rules of the Senate so he could start the trial without Pelosi if necessary. On January 7th, McConnell announced that he had the caucus backing to pass a blueprint for the trial, which discusses witnesses and evidence after the opening arguments. Pelosi called for the resolution to be published before she could proceed with the next steps, but McConnell asserted that the House had no leverage and that there would be no negotiating over the trial. This prompted several Democratic senators to voice their readiness to have the trial begin. On January 9th, Pelosi said she would deliver the articles soon, but continued to cite a need for Republican transparency in the Senate. The same day, McConnell informed members of his caucus that he expected the trial to begin the next week, and Senator Josh Hawley announced that McConnell had signed on as co-sponsor for his resolution to dismiss articles of impeachment not sent to the Senate within 25 days. On January 10th, Pelosi announced that she and Jerry Nadler were prepared to bring a resolution to appoint managers and transmit the articles of impeachment to the House floor in the next week. Okay. Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6 of the U.S. Constitution states that the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments per the Senate's impeachment rules adopted in 1986. The submission of articles to the Senate initiated the trial. Speaker Pelosi signed the articles of impeachment on January 15th, my birthday, and gave them to the Sergeant at Arms, along with House Clerk Cheryl Johnson and the managers. And then I'm just going to move over to the verdict. Oh, here. First votes on subpoena. On January 31st, after a planned debate session, the Senate voted against allowing subpoenas to call witnesses or documents. With a 51 to 49 vote, 51 Republican senators voted against calling witnesses, while 45 Democratic senators, 2 independents, Bernie Sanders and Angus King, who typically vote Democratic, and 2 Republicans, Mitt Romney and Susan Collins, voted for witnesses. Further attempts to add witnesses, Bolton in particular, via amendments were tabled, with similar tallies, but with Romney and Collins joining their fellow Republicans, except for votes specifically calling for Bolton as witness. Republican 2 yay, Democrat 45 yay, Republican 51 nay. Verdict. Closing arguments were given by the prosecution and defense team on February 3rd. That day, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who was undecided on the trial vote, proposed the Senate censure the president to prevent his behavior to go unchecked by the Senate. Throughout, there appeared to be little support for it. Senator Randall Paul, RKY, read and displayed the question, which Chief Justice Roberts declined to read. On February 5th, the Senate voted on whether or not to convict the president on the charges and evidence as they were presented and debated upon. The senators voted 52 to 48 to find Trump not guilty on the charge of abuse of power. All 45 Democrats, independent senators Bernie Sanders and Angus King, and Republican Senator Mitt Romney voted guilty on the second charge. On the second charge, the Senate voted 53 to 47 in a party line vote to find him not guilty on the charge of obstruction of justice. This is a political thing, and I say this is unfair. Let's go to count. And they say, sir, you can't go to court. You say you can't go to court. This is politics. And we're treated unbelievably unfairly. And you have to understand, we went through Russia. It was all bullshit. That was Trump's quote. And I'll read probably the opening of the Wikipedia. The impeachment trial of Donald Trump, the 45th and incumbent president of the United States, began in the U.S. Senate on January 16th, 2020, and concluded on February 5th. It was only the third impeachment trial of a president in the U.S. History proceeded for those of Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton. After an impeachment inquiry between September to November 2019, President Trump was impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives on December 18, 2019. The articles of impeachment charging him of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The Republican majority voted on January 31st to reject 11 amendments proposed by Democrats, which requested subpoena authority to introduce testimony from current and former White House officials and Trump administration documents, which were not provided to House investigators. The prosecution made its opening amendment arguments January 22nd to 24th, and the defense team made its arguments January 25th to 28th. This was followed by a period of questions, answers, and debate. On January 31st, the Senate majority, 51 Republican senators, voted against allowing subpoenas to call witnesses or documents. On February 5th, the 100-member Senate acquitted Trump on both impeachment articles, as neither article obtained the support of a two-thirds supermajority of senators. 52 Republican senators voted against the charge of abuse of power, and all 53 voted against the charge of obstruction of Congress. Accused Donald Trump. Proponents Adam Schiff. Lead manager Jerry Nadler. So that's the Wikipedia page on more info. But this is setting a precedent. Because this is setting a precedent that the House can impeach whoever they want because they don't like them. They need an actual reason. President Trump's phone call was perfect. If you just read the transcripts, you'll see that he said, do us a favor. And the whole thing about, don't call us, we'll call you, is a mafia thing. It's completely false. And I'm glad that the impeachment is over. Um, President Trump did a State of the Union on the 4th and did a statement regarding acquittal on the 6th. This will be my third political video on this channel. I hope you guys find this informative. Like I said, this is setting a bad precedent for how the U.S. is conducted, because the House can impeach whoever they want just because they don't like him, because the reason they proposed is fucking bullshit. So yeah, he did not obstruct anybody, and he did not abuse his power. John Bolton, sorry. So yeah. So the Democrats are they're screwed. They've gone mad. And Joe Biden is a corrupted crook. And President Trump had full right to ask Ukraine to investigate a crook. So I will link President Trump's full statement below. And like I said, he is acquitted by the Senate on all charges. This is a big win for us and the Republican Party. I give my thanks to all the Republicans in the Senate, including Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. And I say that Pelosi and Schumer should be arrested for treason. They tried to undermine an election and tried to influence the next election, and they have committed treason against the United States of America. And Pelosi was also disrespectful by ripping out President Trump's speech. But this is all I have to say. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.